Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's time for another COVID rant. Because haven't heard a rant about COVID yet on this channel in a very long time, but we're specifically doing a rant right now because there's a new sheriff in town, as you can tell, and his name is Omicron. Yes, by popular demand, we're going to be talking about the Omicron variant, as well as the chaos that has been spewed because of it. So, as you guys know, COVID has been a little bit of an issue throughout the tail end of this year. At one point, you had the surge of the Delta variant, which was very short-lived, and things have been going back to normal throughout 2021. We weren't really out of the woods yet per se, but life was pretty much going back to normal. In some people's mind, many people thought that 2022 was going to be a normal functioning year, but then came Omicron. Of course, the Omicron variant has been starting to spread like wildfire. According to the CDC and the WHO, Omicron is actually the most transmissible variant out of all the COVID variants, being able to spread from one person to 10 different people in a matter of seconds. Despite the availability of the vaccine, Omicron can still be able to reinfect people who are already fully vaxxed, as well as being boosted. And as you can tell from all the statistics, Omicron is actually spreading like it's no tomorrow. It's getting pretty crazy. It's not bad because it's less deadly. It's not as deadly as Delta, but it's still spreading pretty concerning because of the possibility that people are becoming a little bit more paranoid because it spreads more, but also because of the increased use of restrictions that could be coming. As a matter of fact, a bunch of states, like here in the United States and provinces in Canada, as well as even some countries in like Europe and Australia, some of these places that were reopening now and are starting to like reduce their restrictions because of the vaccine, now have either halted their plans or they are reversing their plans to go back to normal in order to try and combat the Omicron variant. Most states and countries have seen increases in COVID cases over the last week and a half or so, all thanks to Omicron. In a few states like California and New York have seen the numbers skyrocket, and Florida and Texas are a little bit more laxed when it comes to Omicron. Keep in mind, Omicron in Florida is not that big of a deal as it is in like California and New York, but of course, Ron DeSantis is Satan incarnate, while Gavin Newsom is the savior, as well as Cuomo, who got Me Too'd, and whoever that person is who is taking over his job, she's practically no different from him when it comes to COVID. California and New York obviously are re-implementing their restrictions because of the surge, and that's basically all you need to know about Omicron. I don't want to bore you for 10 and a half minutes, since this is just practically a same old, but at least you still get the idea. So because of Omicron spreading in the United States, Joe Biden had to come out and do a couple of addresses, both of which he just tells people to get vaccinated. No surprises there. But since the Omicron variant can reinfect people who are already vaccinated and boosted, the NHL temporarily shut down their season for just a couple of weeks because a lot of players have been under COVID protocol, and there's been a little bit of an outbreak on some teams of Omicron, causing a great number of postponings of games of certain teams. The NHL has also said that they're not sending their players over to Beijing for the Olympics because of Omicron, even though I think the reason for the NHL not sending their players over to China is a little different than just COVID. Also, come to think of it, it seems like Omicron is spreading in every single country but China. I wonder why. Anyway, back on topic. The NHL canceled their season temporarily. I think they're the only sports league in North America that actually suspended their season. I don't think I saw the NBA or the NFL do the same. There were still games going on while the NHL was on shutdown. But yeah, there were some sporting events that shut down. New York and California are re-implementing their restrictions, and because of Omicron spread, it's starting to raise concerns and get to the point about whether or not we're going to have another lockdown. As a matter of fact, a lot of people have actually been afraid that we'll go through another complete, total, worldwide global lockdown, basically like we had the first time around back in March, and we're all going to have to go back inside for another 2 months, with pretty much nothing to watch and nothing to do. Now, this is obviously sort of like the main topic of today's video, to an extent. Lockdowns are part of it. Nobody really wants to do that, obviously. I mean, it sucked the first time. Restaurants weren't opened and things like that. Small businesses were being completely shuttered. You couldn't go and have a bite and eat with your friends. You couldn't go to school. You couldn't go out and get a haircut. You couldn't go out and play golf with your buddies. You couldn't even go out and watch sports. I mean, no doubt, it sucked. I know everyone is, basically still feeling a little bit fatigued about the whole situation, especially with the economy, because we were basically trapped inside for such a long period of time with nothing really to do. So President Biden obviously comes out in his address. He was asked if this was going to be just like March of 2020. And he says multiple times, even though I'm taking this with a grain of salt, in actuality, no, this is not going to be like March of 2020. That's the answer you're going to get. Not once has he mentioned if we're going to go and shut down again. Not once has he mentioned if mandates are coming back. Matter of fact, the only thing that he's concerned about is passing his OSHA mandate, which, by the way, most people are against, including some people who are already vaccinated. 1 week later, President Biden then does another address with regards to this Omicron variant, and he just simply says, there is no federal solution. This gets solved on the state level. Okay, so essentially you're gonna leave this to the governors now. What's gonna happen next? Because what this sounds like is Biden's gonna completely shift all the blame to people like Ron DeSantis, who every single time there is a surge in this country, and I am sick and tired of it as a Floridian, gets fucking hammered by the left because he refuses to lock down his state. That's what this essentially boils down to. By the way, if Trump went out and said that there's no federal solution to COVID, which, by the way, he did in fact mention this 2 years ago, the media would do nothing but crucify him for a week. When Biden claimed that Trump didn't have a solution, and he explicitly said on Twitter that he was going to shut down this virus, now over a year has passed since that tweet, and now he's saying that there's no federal solution? Let me ask you something. Who's the hypocrite here? Joe Biden claims that he doesn't have any federal solution to this, and yet, days later, after the speech was done, according to Jen Psaki, by the way, there are now talks of Biden not only moving forward with this OSHA mandate, but there are also some talks of some sort of passport-like travel system. Link in the description below for proof. I am not making this up. Tim Pool literally made a video about it. I'll link that video in the description below as well. And because the Omicron variant is spreading like fucking wildfire, Florida, Texas, New York, California, 4 of the biggest states and 4 of the most urban states, might I add, in the entire union, those 4 states, California, Texas, Florida, New York, those are the 4 states specifically that are seeing skyrocketing cases, like over 50,000 cases a day we're talking about. 2 states have restrictions put in place. 2 states have already reinstated masks and are probably going into lockdown again. And the other 2 states are going a little bit laissez-faire. I'm pretty sure you can guess which is which. There is no differential. All 4 of these states have the same exact caseloads. We are not doing this again. I do not want to live in March of 2020 again. Simple as that. Outside of YouTube, I have mentioned this on Twitter and other social media platforms over 500 goddamn times. I am not living through another lockdown, another mask mandate, more social distancing guidelines. I am not social distancing again, ever. And vax passes are not a viable solution. I'm not in a mood to carry like a piece of paper just to go out and hang out with friends. That's literally what a COVID card is. A piece of paper that you literally have to carry around with wherever you go. Look, I encourage people to get vaccinated if they're high risk. You know, the usual people who are over 65 and have comorbidities. I encourage you to get the vaccine, okay? Simple. I am not an anti-vaxxer. I think people who claim that vaccines cause autism are like one of the most dumbest people on earth. But if you're not within that demographic, I don't feel comfortable with the idea of being forced to do something. There is a difference between encouraging people, which is essentially what the Nordic countries did. The Nordic countries like Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, those 4 countries are 4 of the highest vaccinated countries in the world, none of which, by the way, had any restrictions or any mandates whatsoever. Those countries just encourage their population and recommended them to get it. So there is a difference between encouraging, recommending, and educating people just to do something, and it's a totally different thing to force something and tell people what to do and tell them that they don't have any choice otherwise. There is a special word for that, and it's called tyranny. And despite the availability of the vaccine, there are some countries, because of the Omicron variant, that want to go into lockdown again. We're in 2022. We don't want this to be literally 2022. 2022. 22 as the number, alright? We don't want to live through that again. People who are watching this, if your country or your state especially if you're already vaccinated and boosted, wants to implement more lockdowns and implement more social distancing guidelines and more mask mandates, protest. People need to protest. You have an inalienable, God-given right to peacefully assemble and peacefully protest on your own volition without being told otherwise. So if your government decides to lock things down, again, go out and protest. You have countries in Europe, Japan, Oceania, and Latin America who are already doing it. If you take a look at the Netherlands, Germany, France, the UK, Japan, Italy, Spain, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, most of Latin America, the past year you've been seeing a lot of protests in those countries. Meanwhile, here in the United States, land of the free, home of the brave, people are just worried about Ron Death Satan killing little Jimmy or killing grandma because he refuses to shut down Florida. At that same exact time, those same exact people chastising DeSantis, all of them are going out and flocking down here and having a drink with their spouses, maskless. And they also ream on Twitter about how they're just jealous because they can't date them. I mean, here's another thing. It has already gotten to the point where the US is now hitting 1 million cases daily. Biden says that there is no federal solution. People are still attacking Death Satan for refusing to shut down Florida. Jen Psaki is refusing to answer questions about Omicron and what needs to be done. At this point, the whole Omicron situation in the US is a little bit on limbo. We're seeing all these countries and states doing different things. Open rumors about mask mandates being reinstated nationwide. Some school districts are going back to remote only. At this point, anything can happen. We just don't know what and when. We don't know what's going to happen next, and we don't know when it's going to happen. And I'm not here to make shit up. So, in my opinion, I wouldn't be surprised if lockdowns come back. Biden's approval rating is already dropping after announcing that there was no federal solution. People on both sides are already starting to chastise him because of it. Jen Psaki's even refusing to answer any questions. And Dr. Fauci even said last month not to completely rule out lockdowns. I have stated this before multiple times. I cannot deal with another lockdown. Nobody can. We are not doing this again. Last year, things were going A-okay so far. Everybody here is finally getting back to a sense of normalcy. 2019 normalcy, I'm referring to. I've reunited with all my friends I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to when my senior year of high school was cut short thanks to these lockdowns. I've been going out to eat with friends. I've been hanging out with the boys again. I've also been going out to hockey games as well. I'm not getting all that shit taken away from me again. These lockdowns from 2020 have already fucked with my life just enough. And things could be worse if we lock down even more. I mean, take a look at the economy. We might even hit a Great Depression. I mean, a Great Depression where you're not allowed to talk to anyone. You're not allowed to make new friends and interact with humans anymore. You have to socially distance 24/7 and you have to have a bubble around you 24/7. I mean, come on, that sounds like something straight from a dystopian novel. What a fucked up world to live in. So with the spread of the Omicron variant going completely ballistic as of this month, if the whole world goes into another full-blown lockdown because of Omicron's crazy spread and every single event has to be canceled as a result of Omicron lockdowns, you're gonna see me come on here screaming like I'm Nancy Kerrigan. Why? So yeah, we're not doing lockdowns again. If your country decides that it wants to enact a stay-at-home order, a shelter-in-place lockdown, like a full lockdown, go out and peacefully protest. There are already countries in the world that are already dealing with protests because of restrictions being put in place. Lockdowns have already screwed with 2020, making it the worst year in human history. Even though 2021 was a little bit better, it was still a shitty year. And we're not letting 2022 get shit on, just like 2020. I mean, it was already bad enough that we literally just lost an entire month of 420. But anyway, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, be sure to hit that like button down below. And if you're new around here, be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell. Be sure to follow me on all my social medias. Links are in the description below. And as always, follow me on New Tech. Keep in mind that some of my content is not on YouTube. Some videos are exclusively available on these new tech sites like BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey. Links are in the description below because you're missing out. I have made a change where some content is not on YouTube and is instead exclusive to these new tech sites. Not all my content is going to be on YouTube, but elsewhere on these sites. So be sure to follow me on each and every single one of them so you won't miss out. And again, as always, like, subscribe, ring notifications, and until then, take care, talk soon, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.